Hello, everybody. Hello, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Hello, Metaloop. It's good to see you. Glad to see that you both are having a good day. To anybody else who maybe is joining us, I hope you're having a good day as well. I hope your week has been going well. Let me know if you can hear me okay. As always, I always worry about my microphone and everything. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Awesome. Yeah, I had to start it in had to start the live in YouTube Studio today instead of in my streaming software. So I always like to make sure that things went okay. Um, we'll give it a couple more minutes as people trickle in. But obviously, as the title of the live says, we'll be talking a little bit about Arirang today. So I hope you're all ready to theorize and have some fun before the album drops. But we'll give everybody a couple minutes to see if anybody else joins us. Hi, Metaloop. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Also, I love your bingo card. I wanted to tell you it looks great. You even put the Arirang design in it. I love it so much. Mine is very plain and boring compared to yours, but right, it was great. I loved it. It was such a nicely designed bingo card. I spoiler alert, I looked at my card and based on what we've gotten so far, I don't think I'm destined to get bingo this time around, but I'll be curious to see how many things I get right versus don't get right, even if I don't actually get bingo. I don't have anything too super formal planned for today. I do have a couple of slides of talking about some of the stuff that we've had revealed, but otherwise, not too crazy today. Nothing, not like a ton of slides. Metaloop, yeah, I feel the same way. I had made my bingo card pretty early. I remember kind of showing a little brief preview of it in a previous live stream, maybe even like the first live stream I did in 2026, like my kind of welcome back to streaming live stream. But I was like, I won't change it. I'll be good. Yeah. We just changed our clocks. Our clocks just went forward literally just last Sunday. And it kind of hit me when I was making like the YouTube announcement post in my community section. I'm like, wait a minute, there's probably going to be a lot of people who aren't on time change that are not used to, because I'm like, oh, it's 12 noon here, but it wasn't 12 noon before the time change. It was 11 a.m. before the time change. So yeah, I know it's a bit of a weird time. Hello, Don't Feed the Bears. Glad to see you. I'm glad you could be here today. I hope you've been having a good week so far, Don't Feed the Bears. It's kind of funny. I actually wasn't even sure if all of you in Europe did time change or if that was just a thing that we did. I know when we do it here, everybody complains and they're like, "I want to stop doing it." Especially here in Florida, they keep trying to make that a law. I'm glad to hear that, Don't Feed the Bears. I'm glad to hear things have been going well. I hope you're having a good Sunday, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation that we're going to be having about Arirang today. Our last live stream to Theorize before the album comes out. Oh, that is, yeah, you guys are like, what, 3 weeks? Like, yeah, like 3 weeks later than when we did it. That's really interesting. All right. Like I said, I don't have anything like super formally planned. Like it's not going to be super structured. I just have a few slides. But we'll go ahead and get started. And then if anybody else trickles in to join us as we go, they won't really miss too much. Oh yes, that's very true, Meta Loop. You all will probably it'll actually be your my actually let me just jump to my housekeeping slide. Sunday, March 29th was my goal for my next one. So you all might just want to be aware for your time changes. I'll still be doing it at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like kind of my standard time to do it. But that might just be a slightly different time for you all than usual, because you'll be turning your clocks forward as well. And of course, as always, if anything changes with that goal of doing a live stream on March 29th, I will let you all know. That was just because I figured that doing it right after Arirang comes out will be really overwhelming, because literally we'll have just gotten the album. We'll have just had the Netflix concert. I don't know if they have anything else planned, any other interviews or, little treats or live streams or anything. So I thought doing a live to unpack the album that week would be a little bit too much. We might want, some time to kind of sit with it and process anyway. So my goal is going to be Sunday, March 29th to kind of do the follow-up to this stream. This is like the pre-album stream, and then we'll do a post-album stream. We'll take a look at how we did on our bingo cards and things like that. But I thought the 29th would probably be best. Oh, Hitchhiker Rabbit, that's true. Well, it'll equalize out. That'll work out perfectly. Yeah, so the Power of Purple video actually turned out to become a lot shorter than I was expecting. I mean, you all know me, I'm long-winded. So I was expecting it was gonna be like a pretty long, lengthy video, but in terms of just what it almost ended up feeling more like an introduction to the topic than anything, because, I didn't want to get too in-depth. I wanted this to maybe be more of the ability to start a conversation, kick off a conversation. So the video as it stands right now is probably going to be about 16 minutes long. So it's a little bit on the shorter side. It's a little bit more on when I did that why analyze BTS video, that was less than 15 minutes. So it's not going to be as, behemoth. I've kind of been releasing a lot of very long, very large videos lately. So this will probably be a bit of a smaller one. And yes, my goal for that is Tuesday at some point. So fingers crossed. Oh, Metal Loop, that sounds wonderful. That sounds so fun. Also, hello, AK. It's good to see you. I'm glad you could be here today. I hope you've been having a good week and a good day. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I'm really glad. Yeah, I was surprised when the script kind of ended up being short, and then I recorded everything out and edited the audio down. I'm like, oh wow, 16 minutes. Okay, that's a little bit shorter than usual, but I think it'll be a good, at least I hope it'll be like a good jumping off point for people. And I really hope that like it can, like I said, generate like that discussion. That's my biggest hope for that video, is like it can kind of start a conversation. So. Oh my goodness, yes. Good luck. You deserve the big screen for the for the comeback concert for sure. I think that should be seen on the biggest screen possible. All right. So, let's talk about Arirang. I'm a little bit shocked that we are actually already here at comeback time. It just doesn't feel quite real to me yet. That we are literally getting this album in like 4 or 5 days. Especially when you consider how different this kind of has been from other comebacks, and as you all know, those of you who have been watching me for a while, I kind of wasn't ARMY enough to actually be a part of the Map of the Soul 7 comeback. Like, I wasn't part of the anticipation and the lead up. And then kind of all of my subsequent comebacks have been kind of strange because of, like when they released B, it wasn't really like a comeback in the strictest sense because it was, their pandemic album. And then, even like Dynamite, Butter, Permission to Dance, those were all just, treated as like little singles. So there wasn't anything super intense going on with those. And then with kind of Proof being like the anthology album, it's not like we were getting a whole new 14-track album. So this is kind of interesting territory for me. So I don't quite know how this stacks up to previous comebacks, and it's a bit of an interesting Brave New World, I think, for all of us, depending on when we became ARMY. So it's been a fascinating time so far of kind of just getting things unexpectedly. And we were talking about this a lot on Discord of like how so much of the quote unquote promotion for this comeback is kind of being largely driven by us as ARMY. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's been really cute to see like how anxious the members are too, because like I know I am very anxious. Like I'm excited, but I'm nervous. So it's just I think they feel the same way, and it's kind of interesting to be on that like emotional journey with them. So yeah, so I'm really, my hope for this live stream is I'm really eager to hear all of your thoughts and feelings, and kind of like what you're feeling about the way they've been promoting this, what your thoughts are about some of like the things that we've gotten. And of course we're going to theorize and stuff, and we'll talk about like our bingo cards if we've made them, and just like things that we think are going to happen. So I would really, really love to, if you all are, able to chat. I know a lot of people like listen to these live streams when they're, driving or doing housework or things like that. So if you're able to chat, I would love to hear your thoughts about everything. Because yeah, this is gonna be like our last chance to chat about it before it, in this formal setting before it drops. Those of you on Discord, we'll talk on Discord, of course, but this will be like our last opportunity to talk as a big group. So Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, I honestly feel the same. I was putting together, just like my scant few slides for this, and I'm like, I feel like I'm missing so much. I'm like, it's honestly a miracle that I know as much as I do. And for me, I feel like I've been keeping up because of all of you, like thank goodness for the things that get posted in Discord, because otherwise I would just straight up miss like a lot of stuff because I'm so like social media phobic. And so it's like, oh, here's this new thing, here's this, press release or somebody talking about it here or there. And I'm like, wow, I totally would have missed that. It kind of does take me back to my early ARMY days. Kind of like I was saying, I wasn't ARMY enough yet to like really be part of like the Mot 7 comeback, and so like everything I discovered about Mot 7 I discovered by accident. So it kind of takes me back to those days of just like, oh, look at this new thing. And I'd be curious to hear what you all feel and think about the way that they've been doing the lead up to this album. I think on one hand it's really intriguing, and on the other hand there is part of me that like misses the structure, you know, of like when you have like a promotion schedule. I'm like, I need to know where I have to be when. I need to know what I need to be looking for, and I need to be sat and ready for it because otherwise I'm gonna miss things. I agree. The wild theories are the most fun. That's what we're here for. I follow so many, so many of my fandoms are, not just BTS, but so many other fandoms that I'm a part of. Like, theorizing is what makes the experience. And so I've definitely lived that life for like several years of, like my favorite video game series. People were had theories on that for years and years and years, between the two installments. Like the installment that had been the most recent and then the one that was getting ready to come out was like a 10-year wait, so people just theorized forever. And so I've watched a lot of videos and theorists and things, and the one theorist that I always would watch for that video game series would be like, okay, time to get my tinfoil hat, like time to clown. So it's just like, I'm all about the wild theories. Oh, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Yeah, that's really interesting. That wondering if that snippet, because I've seen a lot of people say that they think that snippet might be from Swim. So it's interesting to hear other people, think it's maybe from another song. Yeah, yeah, there's definitely has to be a reason why they're doing it this way, and I'm very curious, and I it reminds me of, this was before my time, so everything I know about it kind of comes from things like their book Beyond the Story. But I know they were actually also kind of doing a bit of a scavenger hunt thing, I think before Map of the Soul Persona came out, and it was kind of like a transition in between Love Yourself and Map of the Soul to kind of like have, and it wasn't, I don't think it was specifically related to like the album, it was more related to the idea of Map of the Soul, that they had like this little like across the globe army scavenger hunt to kind of pull in all of these things and find all this stuff. So that's kind of an interesting thought too. Like maybe it's kind of like this feeling of transitioning, I'm not even sure. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, that's cool. I did not see that. I haven't, I'm a little far behind on getting caught up with High Boy. So while we're at it, since we're talking about the songs anyway, I'm just going to transition down to my slide talking about the track list, because I know that we hadn't had the track list yet when I was last on live stream. That's been a more recent development. And I would love to hear all of your thoughts about the track list, because this personally took me by surprise. This was very unexpected. And that's just like, that's totally on me. I think I was just expecting like a different vibe from the track list because of the title Arirang. So I wasn't super expecting these titles, and I'm so curious what you guys thought. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, very kind of very relevant as well. I'm not sure if I ever expected there to be a track that was like their Arirang. I was thinking that would be like a concert thing. But like I maybe part of me did expect that maybe we'd get like an intro or something that would just be like intro Arirang, and it would like set that up. So I yeah I don't know if they'll just kind of keep that for concerts, or if they're not even gonna really do, because it's, I thought that maybe they were going to be trying to like go in a different direction than that. But then we just got that animated thing with all of the, with the connection back to the students singing Arirang back in the late 1800s. So I'm like, oh, okay, so now we're swinging back towards that. So I'm honestly not quite sure. For me, I honestly thought that the whole track list was going to be maybe a little bit more, I don't quite know how to phrase this, but maybe like a little bit more, for lack of a better term, like dignified. Like, this is very, like, it feels young and hip. And I know saying young and hip sounds really silly, but like, this feels more modern. And with a concept like Arirang, I thought maybe it would be a little bit more throwbacky. So that kind of caught me off guard. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, that's a really, really good point too. Like, it would be almost like commercializing, the idea. And because I know that like Arirang tends to be sung, in like big group concerts and things like that, we've seen that in, I'm sure a lot of us have watched different videos explaining what Arirang is, and like you always seem to see it at like music festivals or music shows, and it seems like a thing that people can sing it alone, but it kind of seems like it's almost like a thing that people sing in groups, or that like plays best when it's sung in like a group setting or to a group. And so yeah, I could see them not necessarily wanting to put it on the album, but maybe wanting to do it at a concert in like that group setting. Metaloop, you're so right. Yeah, it is kind of crazy how much certain things were things that we'd already been talking about theme-wise. Hi, Javine. Yes. Yeah, clocks changed here in the U.S., so 12 noon my time is now like a weird time for you guys in Europe. I'm so sorry. But yes, you haven't really missed much. We're just getting ready to start discussing Arirang, talking about like the uniqueness of the promotion this time around, talking about the track list. So I would love to hear everybody's thoughts and feelings. Nothing too formal today, but like I said, you haven't really missed much. Yeah, I know it's really strange. I actually didn't even know, I said this earlier, I didn't actually even know if you guys in Europe like changed your clocks at all. So I wasn't sure if this would be like the norm moving forward for a while, if that time would be slightly off, but it seems like at least some of you change your clocks forward too. So I think by the time of our next live stream, it should equalize again. Oh, good. I'm glad you're being cool. Yeah, AK. I agree. It's very much, and that's the thing too. I don't know if I'm alone in this, but like, I definitely didn't know like what the vibe was gonna be of the album, for like what they were feeling, post military and post hiatus. And it's like, was it gonna be a little bit more dark and reflective? I know people were thinking that for a while, like maybe it's gonna be a sort of dark comeback, and then, or is it gonna be a little bit more joyous? And I think that's been a big question that I've had for all of the members since they came out of the military. Like, going on that journey with Jin, first and foremost, it was like, oh, what's Jin gonna have to say after military service? And then his first album is called Happy, and it's like this beautiful effervescent celebration, and it's like, okay, now we know where Jin's mind is post-military. So I'm really curious to see where the group mindset is post-military. Yeah, I think so too. I think the Netflix concert would be a great opportunity to sing it, because they'll be there at the palace. It's going to be like a very beautifully, almost like it has this feeling of like from Korea to the world for that concept and that concert. So I think it would be a good time to sing it then, because you're very right, Hitchhiker Hobbit, when you say like having an Arirang track like on their album does kind of make it feel almost like they're taking away from like the other Arirangs, which is, I like that they're not doing that. I think it's very sensitive and very thoughtful of them to be like, hey, yeah, we're not gonna, try and like stake our claim to the song. And it almost makes me feel like the Arirang that they're expressing here in the album is almost like less the song and more the feelings, which is really interesting. It would be really cool if we could get it in other stops on the tour. That would be really, really fun. Oh, and speaking of which, Hitchhiker Hobbit had mentioned like the themes of the track list. Now, also jump down to here. I apologize. I know there's a lot of text on this slide. Shout out to Metaloop for sharing all of this with us on Discord. These are just like some different like press releases for the tracks and things like that, kind of describing what each of them potentially means. And it's interesting to me because some of the concepts attached to these song titles are definitely not what I was expecting hearing the titles. Like the actual substance of the track and the title maybe don't jive super much and maybe that's a good thing. I'm not sure what you guys feel about that might just be a me thing. That's so true, Hitchhiker Hobbit. That would be such a cool moment of just, again, because like Arirang as a song just feels like it's something that's really powerful when it's sung in that group setting. So I think it would be really, really cool to have, the whole audience singing along with them. Metaloop had shared a video on Discord a couple days ago that was like somebody kind of breaking down Arirang as a song, and this was like a very, very old video that just really got to the core of like the emotion of what the song is and like when it's sung in Korea, and like just like a really good emotional look, and just like added such beauty to the concept. I really, really love it. That's so true, Javine. That is very true. Their titles can always be very misleading. I like because I wasn't part of the comeback for Mot 7, I kind of got all of these memes and things after the fact, but I always think of the memes for Map of the Soul 7 where like people were really surprised to see that like J-Hope's song off of Mot's was going to be Ego, and they're like, oh, that's going to be interesting. Is that going to be kind of like a darker song? And then like Namjoon and Yoongi doing Respect, and they're like, ooh, that's going to be like an intense clapback against the haters, and then both Ego and Respect are like so upbeat, and people are like, LOL, we were wrong. Yeah, that's a good question, Javine. I've been thinking about that as well. I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but I'm assuming that it's gonna drop midnight. So like technically it'll be Thursday. I'm one of those people that like even though it's midnight, I don't think of it as the next day. So for me, I'm thinking it'll be Thursday night at midnight. Bomac, hi, it's good to see you. I'm glad you could be here. Yeah, no, my mind went to the same place, and I was kind of like, that's unexpected. Yeah, no, I kind of was a little bit like, like you can ask anybody who's on my Discord server, like kind of on that day, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. That's all I'm gonna say for now. Bye. Like, and I kind of vanished. So. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yes, you are so right. Like when the boys announced that the album was going to be called Arirang, and there was just like all of these explanations or like older explanations were coming back around. So many of them were so good. I love that DKDK TV video, and then High Boy's explanation was just amazing. I love that High Boy always like he like shows his work, he always like brings his sources and has so many different sources he's pulling from, and it was just such a great look at it. No, Metaloop, I totally agree. I felt that way too, because like reading some of the press releases, like the one that I have on the screen right now, it's like RM is leading the songwriting and like all this stuff. Like there is a lot of marketing that seems like it's very focused on like, oh hey, look at how influential RM was, which is like surprising that they like are kind of leaning into that. Yeah, I'm thinking for me, I think Midnight for me, yeah, because a lot of times I've noticed in the past when they do comebacks, they'll usually, and like as we were discussing, this is gonna, it's a little bit of a weird comeback, but in previous comebacks, I know they would give the time in KST and then they'd give it in EST, which is my time zone. So, midnight for me might be 5 a.m., 6 a.m. for you guys in Europe. Oh yeah, I saw that one, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I think I kept mistaking it for like an older video, and then I'm like, no, that's a different channel. So I would love to watch that one too. Also, hello to anybody else who just kind of joined us recently or is hanging out in the chat. I'm so glad you could be here. I hope you've been having a good day and a good week so far. But it is interesting kind of talking about those times for things dropping. We haven't really gotten any direct confirmation of that, because I'm just assuming I'm operating on the assumption that we're gonna get the music video at that same time because again, that's how it's been previous times. So I'm just assuming that that's going to happen, but I don't think it's been confirmed one way or another that we are getting a music video for Swim and it's coming out that day at that time. I'm just assuming here, so I guess we'll find out. Unless maybe that information has been posted somewhere and I just haven't seen it because of me and my social media phobia. And that's the other thing too. I mean, we know that they've talked about filming a music video, but have they filmed multiple ones? I'm assuming that they filmed one at the very least for Swim, but we don't have like any other like actual confirmed information. So it's like, is there another music video somewhere? Is there going to be like maybe a dance video, kind of like we got for On back with Mot 7? I don't know. Yeah, Javine, I've kind of thought that too because, again, going back, and I'm sorry, I know I'm referencing Mott so much, but that's like the closest BTS comeback to this that I've had. So, of course, I keep going back to Mott 7, but it kind of reminds me of how, like, Black Swan had the art, like the art film, the video that was, the dance troupe dancing, and then we had the On Come Prima video, which was BTS dancing for On, and then it's like, and then we didn't get the actual like story videos for Black Swan and On until later. So that's even potentially something they could do with this comeback. That makes a lot of sense, wanting to like count towards Billboard and stuff. That's so true. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad you could finally catch one. Thank you so much for being here. Also, if I like to shorten people's usernames, so is Faye okay for you? Just like, or do you prefer like Faye Army? Like, just let me know, because if you're, we like to call ourselves Army Theorist Corner and Friends, so you can be part of the crew, and we can call you by a more familiar name. Yeah, Metaloop. I remember that being a thing that they were like, oh yes, we're going. I feel like it was Portugal. Portugal sticks in my head, and so. And I feel like even Jungkook might have mentioned that they were doing a like a music video shoot. So it'll be curious to see, like, was that for Swim? When will it be out? Is it the only one? And I mean, I do love the element of surprise that's going on in this comeback. But like I said, at the same time, I'm like, gentlemen, I need to know where I have to be and when. I don't want to be like, in the shower or something when you all are dropping a music video. Okay, awesome. Good to know. Thank you so much. Yeah, they definitely, I mean, they are definitely going big with some of these promotions. They are not afraid to be like huge, giant billboards and taking over buildings like the way they did for like the What Is Your Love Song promotion. I mean, they are definitely not shy about like big scale. And that's the other thing too, about like these tracks. We know so very little about these tracks other than like these literal, one line summaries. So it's kind of even impossible to be able to tell what should have a music video if it's like, oh, maybe we'll get two music videos. What would be the second one? Like, for me personally, I think I'm probably most excited just based on title and description. I'm probably most excited for Into the Sun. And so it's like that could be a cool music video, but maybe they just want that to be a performance song. Maybe that's even, we know that they've been hinting at like a choreography heavy song. Maybe Into the Sun is that. I don't know. Yeah, you may be right about that as well, AK, of just like a lot of this could kind of be, waiting for the Netflix concert and then maybe it'll start to become more clear. That's true. We do still have time. We might get a teaser. Maybe I feel like Tuesday, Wednesday always seems to be like when they drop like teasers and things. So maybe on Tuesday? Fingers crossed, because I'd love to get a little bit of an idea of what we're in for. That's true, Javine. I could definitely see it being kind of microcosmos-ish. The only thing I know about it other than that one line description is from the thing that's on the top of the screen is them saying, "Oh, it's going to be like an anthem." And so like I don't know, anthem is such a broad there's such a broad definition of that, and it's just like that could be an anthem like On, or it could be an anthem that's like a little bit more earnest and sweet and a little less like powerful and dance heavy. So I'm not sure if like Swim is going to be the one that's going to be heavy choreography because it's the title track, or what we're looking at. And a lot of these have really interesting concepts to me. Some, like I said, we were saying that, the titles maybe don't match. The titles aren't super straightforward. So even if I'm maybe not like as fond of some of the titles, I do like a lot of the descriptions. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. That's so I love seeing Microcosmos like that in that Netflix trailer that which gave me chills, like literally actually made me cry. But just like having Microcosmos be the thing that was playing was like so beautiful. I wonder because obviously when they did BTS Week on the Tonight Show, they also did Microcosmos, kind of with the beautiful palace background, and like they had the drones in the sky to form like the army symbol and the BTS symbol, and so maybe they're gonna have like some Microcosmos energy or some performance coming up as well with this. I'm not even sure, but um I think it's a really good, really beautiful choice, and I really love that that's the choice that they made to kind of be the one that's kind of like hard carrying some of these promotions. Yeah, I feel like I remember hearing alternative pop as well. I all I know, I was looking a little bit last night. I found a Twitter thread that kind of pulled the different things that they said on Spotify on like that little Spotify treasure hunt, and Yoongi's description made me laugh because it was like, it was so throwbacky. It was like, oh, this beat is such a kick. Like, I'm like, I love that description, Yoongi. That's so cute. Let me see if I can find it, because like just the description just made me chuckle. Oh yeah, I personally think the groove of this track is a kick. That description just fills me with such joy. It's so cute. For me as a theorist too, I'm really interested in kind of seeing how swim as a concept can kind of fit into the way that BTS kind of discusses this theme of moving forward. Because, like, I mean, we know Dream, Hope, Keep Going is like a big BTS theme. And something that I always love in analyzing is the idea of how certain thoughts that BTS have evolve over time. Like, for instance, the concept of dreams, like when they were younger and they were doing like the school era stuff, they were just very, they believed very passionately that people should have a dream. And then as they got a little bit older and, they kind of, their perspective changed a little bit on that, and like their circumstances changed a little bit, then they kind of were encouraging people to be like, hey, you don't need to have like a grandiose dream in order to like still want to go out and do things. And so it's just like, it's interesting the way certain concepts evolve with them. So I'm sort of curious, is swim gonna evolve? We've had run, and we've had, Wings talked a lot about flying, and so it's just like, what is swim gonna be about? Like, I know they've said a couple different times that swim kind of gives the idea of just like, don't fight the current, just kind of keep moving forward, and so that's going to be kind of interesting too. And I'm very curious how that's going to fit into their story and their style, and what they usually say, and like the commentaries that they usually make. I think it's a very fitting thing to talk about after their military service, because obviously they kind of had no choice but to sort of just like surrender to what was happening. And so I'm really curious, to sort of see how they express some of those thoughts and feelings. It's really, really interesting. I'm very eager to kind of see what the vibe of that is. Oh, let's see. So who were the producers for Swim? I know it's really tiny on the screen because I was trying to fit everything in. I have not heard of either of those people. So, and I mean, I'm lame, so I haven't heard most of these people, and I couldn't tell you what most of these people have done. I do recognize the name Ryan Tedder because I used to like the band One Republic, so I've heard of him, but like I couldn't even actually really tell you much about like his style as a producer. And of course I know P Dog. But it's interesting. I'm seeing that same name also produced Please. And let me see if I can see his name anywhere else. I'm not seeing his name anywhere else, but I could also just be missing it because, like I said, this is tiny. So Metaloop, yeah, that's really interesting. And honestly, if the idea behind Swim, like Bomac just said, is kind of like go with the flow, I could kind of see there definitely being a sort of sense of like kind of just not fighting super much, and just sort of like almost like a bloom where you're planted type of thing, you know what I mean? Which, like I said, I'm really interested to kind of see how that fits into the usual BTS vibe, because we know that so much of like BTS, and not just even in like the school era, just like throughout their career, has been kind of been pushing back against expectations. So it's really interesting to kind of say like, go with the flow. Like, I'm just curious to see how that fits in. For the producers for Swim, the name is Tyler Spry, and then I honestly can't even really read that on my screen. Let me pull it up on my, because I had two versions of this. One was like a much longer version, and I was like, I'm gonna need to split it in half because it's too big for the slide, but I still have the long version, so I'm gonna pull that up so I can read it. In theory, I'm going to pull it up if it actually decides it wants to load and show me the picture. There we go. All right, so it is, yeah, Tyler Spry, so Spry, and then Leclaire, Leclair. And like I said, I see Tyler Spry's name on Please. He's a producer and a writer on that one. But then I'm not seeing his name again or the other producer's name again, just from like a really quick like scan of the all of the writers and producers. Yeah, I'm just kind of scrolling through. I'm not seeing them repeated. Which is interesting that they seem to only be like on the title track. That kind of reminds me a little bit of like Jin's title tracks. I feel like when Jin did Running Wild and Don't Say You Love Me, like those were just like very, you know, like the people who wrote and produced those songs, they were like one-offs, you know? It's like they weren't really involved in the album, they just were involved in this song. So that's kind of an interesting thought as well. I'm very uninitiated about how certain music production things work, so like it's always very strange to me when it's like a song has like 100 different writers, because it's like they could have just contributed a little bit to the beat or like one line of writing, and it's just like it's so strange to me to try and gauge like how a song was produced when you see just an ocean of names, because it's like they all could have contributed, you know, just like something very different. So I don't know. For me, I was actually like, I was more surprised, and like obviously it makes sense because you know they came to Los Angeles to do it, but I was surprised by the lack of big hit producers. Like we have Ghost Loop and P Dog, which I was like very glad to see, but I was kind of surprised that more big hit producers don't have like their hands on this. And obviously the boys themselves do production work, you know, like we know Yoongi and Namjoon and probably all of them at this point do a little bit of producing. So I'm not super shocked because they probably don't need as many producers as they maybe did back in the day, but I was a little bit surprised. I'm like, I'm actually surprised that there aren't like more recognizable like big hit names on there. So that was an interesting thought too. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. That's I think usually how they do is the like especially for the writing credits, it's like how much they contributed. It determines how much, you know, where they are in the credit list. Oh, okay. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit. That is interesting because I was kind of surprised to not see him, and I was like, oh, okay, that's an unexpected twist. I would have thought that he would be like really involved, so that makes sense. Again, I know they went to LA for a lot of this, so it's not like they were like doing it at Hybe, at the Hybe building, but I would have thought that like some people would have traveled with them or at least like done some stuff in post. So that makes some sense. I'm curious if you guys saw this. Yeah, Javine, I'm right there with you. I know nothing about music production. But I was curious if you guys saw this, because we always talk about this here on Live. We always mention that we were promised a project for the anniversary of Most Beautiful Moment in Life, and we never got it. I actually saw a thing while I was doing research and trying to look at some stuff for this album, where I saw a thing where they were saying that this album is the thing that they're doing for the anniversary of HYYH, which kind of tracks with what you shared on Discord, Metaloop, about how there's some kind of HYYH type things sort of being spread throughout promotional stuff and ideas of stuff. So that was kind of news to me, of the idea that maybe the album is actually the HYYH continuation and not there wasn't a separate project. So I'm curious if you all saw that. Oh, that's interesting too, Metaloop, that there's maybe a little bit more EDM inspiration in there. That could be really interesting and cool. Like I've said many times, I'm pretty open to the idea of what the album sounds like. I just want to know what the album is about thematically and lyrically and things like that. That's more important to me than sound. Yeah, I've always kind of wondered too, the same thing, Javine, because I know, with very famous songs in throughout history, you don't often know who writes and produces them. You just think of the person singing them. But then I also don't know if maybe it's a little bit more common in the social media age and nowadays that maybe producers do get a little bit more front center. Again, I don't really know, because, BTS are the only artists that I ever go this far into, actually diving deep into the music like this. I listen to any other song and I'm like, whatever, Yeah, so let's see. Let me jump back up to. Had we been talking about that in the regular chatting thread on Discord? I forget where we were talking about that. Maybe it was in Theorize. Yeah. So, people are online seem to be speculating, because there's a lot of 2016 things and different things like that. So and different dates, April 11th, which was big in the BU. So it's there's some theorizing that maybe there'll be some BU energy, which is fascinating. And we've been talking about that for a while, that maybe we would have some BU adjacent stuff to this. So that would be kind of interesting. Yeah, swimming is the new running. I love it. Oh, that's nice that they were surprised and appreciative. I mean, that's BTS. BTS's philosophy is always giving credit where credit is due. I always think of how Yoongi gave Namjoon writing credits on Interlude Shadow, even though, according to Namjoon himself, really all he did was double check Yoongi's English lyrics in, when he does the I want to be a rock star, I want to be the top. According to Namjoon, he just spot checked that and made sure that the English made sense, and Yoongi gave him a writing credit. And he's he did not have to do that. Honestly, I think in low key we are all kind of fangirls and fanboys for Highboy, because he's awesome. His work is amazing. I love the way he just sits down and does an hour-long video about something with all of his sources, and I'm just absolutely the GOAT. We love Highboy. We'd be lost without Highboy. Yeah, and it is. I do agree that it is kind of nice to, the fact that they are very open about hey, this is who worked on this. This is who contributed, and I do very much appreciate that. And it's interesting too, because you never know when you're just like listening to a song regularly. It's difficult to be like, oh, I know every single person on this. So I went back and I was looking at like some of the writing credits and the producing credits for things like Map of the Soul 7. And it is really interesting when like you go on Wikipedia and look up that album to see just how many people were involved in some of those tracks. Right? Like Hype Boy has all of the news that is fit to print, whether it's about BTS or other Hype groups. It's like he cuts through all of the noise so well, and he's able to sort of like distill everything down in a way that I think is really accessible. Give me just 1 minute. I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Back now. Yeah, Javine, I often feel the same way. And it's so funny because it's again because I know like very little about song production and album production and stuff. I remember when The Astronaut came out. There is apparently part of the melody, the track, whatever you'd want to say, for The Astronaut that is sort of like borrowed or remixed from, correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody has like eyes on the Wikipedia page, but I'm pretty sure it's borrowed from the sci-fi movie Arrival. And so if you look at the astronaut's writing credits, there is a writing credit for the composer who composed that score. And so it's just like you wouldn't ever know that unless you actually like did some research. And so it's like when you look at that name on the writing credit, it's just like that person actually composed the score that they're remixing slash borrowing from. And so there's so many complicated things that go into like the writing credits of a song that like we don't even have eyes on as the audience unless we really, really do some digging. So yeah, so that's interesting, Hitchhiker Hobbit. Honestly, I just looked at these songs and based on the writing credits, which is, it doesn't necessarily track, but just based on the writing credits, I automatically assumed that none of these are solo songs. Um, and like, I could be proven completely wrong on that, but some of them do almost seem like they could be. Like, I could see some of them kind of having that slant. I could see, you know, certain, let me jump down to where I listed these out here. Excuse me. So sorry. But hang on. Sorry about that. Choking myself out. But just some of the descriptions do feel like they could be like kind of jive with certain members' individual solo work, if that makes sense. But I'm not 100% sure about that. I've just sort of been going through it thinking that all of them are OT7 songs. So to answer Metaloop's question, my theory is about story / concept they will go for, and how do I think, and do I think like how they'll present those ideas. That's a really good question, to be honest with you. I don't know, because like I said, I was definitely expecting one type of thing with just the name Arirang, and then the track list came out and I was like, hey, I think I'm wrong. And then with some of the more recent stuff that's come out, I'm like, maybe not. So we'll see. Yeah, I could definitely see some subunits. So we'll get into our bingo cards, because I think we have a lot to unpack, kind of like to Metaloop's point in question. I do think there's a lot to unpack there, like just within the framework of the bingo cards. But since I've been referencing some of the more recent stuff that we've gotten promotional wise, I'm actually going to just jump down to like my last pre-bingo card slide, which is just a very, 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 very small sampling of some of the stuff that we've been getting. So 2 of my favorite things that we've gotten so far is the animation trailer that's up on Bangtan TV. I love this so much. I love this trailer. We had been talking about this in previous live streams. We'd been talking about it on Discord, how there were 7 young Korean men who came to the United States and performed this song in 1896, I believe it is. They say it in the trailer. It's either 95 or 96. And we had been talking about that, like, when they announced Arirang as the concept. So, like, to have this brought back around and to have it be, like, connected to what BTS is doing, oh my gosh, when I tell you I was obsessed. I love it. It's amazing. And we had been talking earlier about the music that plays near the end of that trailer. Is it for Swim? Is it for another song? But I also like the line of, when the world feels heavy, when your heart feels light, what is your love song? And then it ends with the my love song is ... And that's how the trailer ends. But I just thought this was fantastic. It's so charming and like lovingly done, and it's just such a beautiful concept and a beautiful way to relate like all of the Arirang stuff together. I'm obsessed with it. If you haven't seen it yet, I do highly recommend checking it out. And then I had mentioned those Spotify. Yeah, that's so true too, Hitchhiker Hobbit. The first time any Korean music was recorded, and then to just tie it together with BTS. I love that. I'm a huge history nerd, and I loved seeing, just the way they threw it back to that historical concept, and, just the way, and I know like they had like that little disclaimer in the beginning where it's like, hey, we don't actually know exactly, like this is an interpretation. We're just sort of making up our own sort of them coming and doing this song. But I just thought it was so charming to just like have them coming over together, and doing the song, and just, I love it so much. It was so lovely. And I can imagine that it means even more to like Korean people actually seeing it and having that as their cultural heritage. But it's still just, I fell in love with it as somebody who loves history. So, and then the other thing was those Spotify interviews. I didn't put, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I was seeing on Twitter, it only looks like a few of them are available right now. Like other ones will be dropping, but they haven't yet. I don't know if that's accurate. But I just pulled out the one from Namjoon because I was personally obsessed with the way he described Swim, where he said it centers on the resolve to keep moving forward through the waves of life. The love in this track goes beyond romantic feelings. It's about love for life in the true sense, by choosing to move at one's pace rather than resisting the current. And y'all know me, so hearing it's a love song that goes beyond romantic feelings, chef's kiss. I'm here for it. I love it. I'm already in that mindset because I'm working on the Power of Purple video, so like, love it. So those are my 2 favorite things that have come out recently from just like the kind of sporadic promotion we've been getting. I know I'm probably missing a lot of other stuff, and like I said, I know there's other, like, Yoongi and Hobie and Jimin have things for the Spotify thing as well that I've seen on Twitter, so that's what I was seeing too as well. Hitchhiker Hobbit, it looked like it was like the rap line and Jimin so far. I don't think I've seen Jin or JK or Tae yet, so I'm not sure, because I know it's kind of almost like a little scavenger hunt, so it looks like they've been rolling it out kind of slowly. But I'll share the Twitter thread that I found. This is actually a very long Twitter thread because it also talks about like how you can actually get to the things on Spotify. So like they also give instructions on how to do that. Oh, I have it. I am so silly. I have it pulled up in the other tab the whole time because I was looking for that thing earlier. So let me copy that and put it in the chat. So that's the Twitter thread. That's really interesting too, thinking about like what tracks could be what. Yeah, I honestly don't know. Like thinking about like vocal line versus rap line, I'm not sure. I still honestly feel Hitchhiker Hobbit that there's going to be another album at some point. That could be totally wrong, but I still get that impression. I feel like that will be, it'll sort of be like when they did the Love Yourself concerts, but then they had already released Map of the Soul Persona by the time they did the extension, and so then like their concerts were like part Love Yourself and part the extension with the Persona songs. That's just kind of my thought, but that's not based in any type of fact other than just me thinking maybe. Yeah, and especially like on something on Spotify. I mean, I know nothing about Spotify. I know enough about Spotify to have gone in and pre-saved the album, and that's about where my knowledge of Spotify ends. So, the Twitter thread that I posted not only says how to go find the little scavenger hunt pieces, but also like transcribes out the messages, which is really nice. Which is really nice. I don't know why I can't speak today. All right, so since we're kind of talking about like our theories and stuff anyway, I'm going to jump down to my bingo card, and to any of you who are interested in like kind of your own bingo cards, or like I know Metaloop has a bingo card up on Discord. Also, you can reference your thoughts and anything like that, and we can jump back and forth between like what you all have and what I have, and everything like that. So based on, like I said earlier in the live stream, I made this bingo card pretty early in Arirang's kind of development. So most of my stuff I think is wrong, and I don't think I have any hope at all in getting a bingo, which is fine. I did not need one. I just wanted to kind of throw everything together on here. So I'll go through mine just kind of one by one, and we'll kind of, get some of my thoughts and theories about everything, and see if I'm anywhere near correct. But my free space is, of course, the world tour, because, of course, we know that that's happening. I also kind of gave myself an easy one with saying that there's a choreography-heavy song with a dance practice, because we do kind of know that. So I kind of threw that one in there as well. Oh, hi, Butterfly Young. Welcome. No, you're okay. No worries. We've been chit-chatting about theories. It's been very kind of, unstructured today. We're just sort of last theories, before Arirang comes out. So you haven't really like missed any type of structure or anything. I'm very glad you're here. I hope you've been having a good day so far. So I'm just right now I'm going over my bingo card for what I think Arirang is going to contain. And I'm probably very wrong on a lot of these, but we'll kind of get some ideas for theorizing, because I think it's it's kind of up in the air right now what I think this album's going to be. So this can at least give you guys somewhat of an idea of my thoughts. But yeah, so that's true, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I could very much see the first track being like the choreography heavy one. Like they really want to just like hit the ground running with something like really intense. And so we'll see on that. I know they've said that they've been practicing a ton of choreography. And I mean, that could also be old songs too, of course. But my thought is that we'll get at least one choreography heavy song, and I would love for a dance practice to be released because I love when they release dance practices on Bangtan TV. So I'm crossing my fingers that we would get one of those. I do think that we will get some Map of Soul references, whether that be to the concept of the Map of the Soul or to the album series, and I do think we'll get some Carl Jung type stuff in here. I'm not sure where now that we have the track list. I'm not sure if that would be contained anywhere specifically. So I'm a little bit more, I don't know about that one. Like we had just been talking about the elements of the BU. I think that I wasn't thinking that we would get that once I saw the track list, and then hearing people theorize like, oh, hey, no, there's this other stuff that's like very BU coded. And then I'm like, maybe we will. So, and then I have a lot of themes scattered across the board. I didn't want to put them all together, so I just kind of scattered them throughout. So I have like death and rebirth as a theme, fire or the sun, which it looks like that one is a given because we have Into the Sun. So that one seems at least like I might have gotten that one. I think that I was thinking maybe space themes and imagery. Unclear. We'll have to see. I was thinking the phoenix as a symbol, again, kind of tying into like that death and rebirth thing. I was thinking of time as a theme, peace as a theme, and spring as a theme. I'm not super optimistic on spring anymore, but maybe they could surprise me. And then I also was very optimistic about there being a continuation of an older song, and it doesn't seem like we overtly have there's not an old BTS song part 2 or 3 or 4, we don't have a very obvious indication that is something on there, but I mean, I guess it is still possible, but I was really holding out hope for a, Cypher Part 5, because I thought this is the 5th album. If ever there was a time to do a Cypher Part 5, it was now, but I don't think so. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That's really interesting, Hitchhiker Hobbit. So maybe we will kind of have that. That'd be kind of cool. I also kind of gave myself an easy one on the bingo card with black, white, and red being very thematically and visually used because we've been seeing so much of black, white, and red. So that's kind of a given. But I mean, I'm kind of curious if that will continue to translate into music video stuff, if it'll continue to translate into outfits that they wear. So we'll see all in good time. I did give myself 2 phrases that I was thinking we're gonna be on the board, and that would be heavy is the head that wears the crown, because we've been talking about that for a while, and then the phrase we are back. Those aren't visually depicted in the track list right now, but they could be lines within the song, so we could see. Javine, one more night could be just one day, part 2. It's possible. I'm still holding out hope for a continuation. And then we had actually just been discussing my theory about there being 2 or more albums. That's me playing a little bit more of the long game. That's not something that we would probably know anytime soon, but me playing the long game there. I do think we'll have at least one ballad and or fan song. I saw everybody was talking about that in the chat as well, of what might potentially be the ballad. I think we have to have at least one ballad. So actually we were talking about when the album is releasing. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. So the release date officially is March 20th, but we were speculating on time. So we were wondering, because a lot of times when BTS releases their music videos or their albums, they will put it in Korean time, and they'll also put it in Eastern Standard Time, which is the East Coast of the United States. So if they do it like that, a lot of times when they release music videos or albums, it's 12 midnight on technically the day before. So it'll be Thursday, March 19th at midnight, right when it transitions into Friday the 20th. I don't know if they're still going to be doing it like that, but that was kind of our theory. Oh yeah, that's true too. Hitchhiker Hobbit. That could be interesting too. Of like having like the crown, you know, like kind of be in like a comeback show. And for me, I was kind of wondering, you know, especially when they were announcing like, oh, they're going to perform at the palace and things like that. I was wondering if at any point there was going to sort of be like the theme or the symbolism of the idea, because like it takes me back to Yet to Come, of just like, oh hey, like we don't want trophies and flowers and things like that, we don't need the accolades, we just kind of want to connect with our fans and with the people who matter to us. I was kind of wondering if that was going to be something of a theme, if they were going to say like, oh yeah, you know, we've been getting called kings and we've been getting put up on this pedestal, but or even Boy with Love very much has that same energy of like, I'm flying very high, but I actually just kind of want to be down here with, you know, with my fans and like looking into their eyes and connecting with them. And I thought maybe because that whole heavy is the head that wears the crown thing was kind of, you know, people were speculating about that for a while, if maybe they would kind of incorporate that. Yeah, I'm very curious. It'll be interesting to see lyrically if we get some of these themes, even if we don't get them visually. Another thing that I think I'm wrong about, because the album comes out in 5 days, is I was thinking that maybe we would have a pre-release track, the way that Black Swan was a pre-release track for Map of the Soul 7, but I don't think we are getting a pre-release track, so unfortunately I think I am wrong on that one. We had been talking earlier about the idea of 2 music videos as well, so we'll see. I'm still, you know, I'm still kind of optimistic on that one. So we'll see what happens there. And then this next one on the bingo card is a big one for me. I really hope that there's at least one socially relevant song, and maybe that's going to be Swim, because they've been talking about like, you know, going at your own pace, and I think that counts as socially relevant, but be curious what you guys think about that too. Right, Javine? It's like, I want to give you the whole world, but the whole world is kind of a mess right now, so the moon is better. We have Jin did the song Moon, so he can kind of be the moon. We can give them Jin. I feel like we have given you the moon. Yeah, we were wondering that ourselves, Butterfly Young. We were thinking the same thing, that maybe, and I mean, we were even speculating like maybe they'll do kind of like they did for Map of the Soul 7, where like Black Swan and On had like 2 non-music video releases first, and then a little bit later had like the story type videos released. So I mean, I could even see them doing something like that. And let me actually just bounce back up to the track list for a second. I could also see, like, I was very interested. The description for Hooligan says it reflects the time they spent pioneering their paths around the world. I could see that being somewhat socially relevant as well, if they kind of address some of the issues that they've had, you know, of, you know, being like gate kept and things like that, or even Aliens, which contains aspirations for the world, says this press release. I could see that kind of being socially relevant. And then, yeah, so like Animals expresses the will to live passionately, that could be an interesting, you know, that'd be cool if that was socially relevant. Oh, yeah, I like that a lot. It is very powerful to think that this could be an album entirely of group tracks. That is very powerful. So that actually, we can jump down to my last row on the bingo card, which is when I had said potentially subunit songs and solo songs. And then, like I said, I don't know if I'm as optimistic on solo songs anymore, but I think we could get subunit songs. It is interesting. I mean, like in my last live stream when we talked about Arirang, I forget which one, but you know, whenever I was last like really heavily talking about Arirang, I was like, oh, I think I'd be cool either way if there were solos or not solos. But like, there is part of me that's a little sad that we don't get solo songs, but it is also kind of nice since we just came off of the solo era to like be getting OT7 songs again. So like, that's kind of nice. And you know, depending on how this album flows, I mean, I'm flexible. As I've said, I just want it to be like deep and have something for me to sink my teeth into analytically. And then in terms of composition, you know, I'm more flexible. It's just like, I just want this to be BTS, you know, BTS describing BTS things, their actual thoughts and feelings and their core. And like, that's important to me. Yeah, Butterfly Young. I think you're right. It does kind of feel like B in that sense. Like it feels like almost like a the way B was obviously very internal because it was the the pandemic and they were kind of very very involved in the production of that because again it was the pandemic. But this almost feels like the same idea behind B, but like scaled way up because they can work more globally. And then my last two thoughts in my final row here are no collabs and no all English songs. And I'm curious, I mean, based on the writing credits, I might be correct on no all English songs and I might be correct on no collabs because they haven't said anything and I feel like they usually would say featuring whomever. So, we'll see if those two are correct. I'd be happy if those two were correct. Bomac, yeah, maybe in that second album that I'm really like thinking will happen. Maybe that's when we'll get some subunit songs. It's kind of funny because I almost feel like maybe they'll do the opposite of like how Map of the Soul Persona released first and that was like the shorter album and then Mot 7 released and that was the longer album and it had like the rest of the solos and the subunits. Maybe they'll do the exact opposite with this and they'll release the shorter album later and it'll be like where we have some of those other songs. I don't know, we'll see. I do just think it'll be interesting to try and see because I know that when they do OT7 focus concerts, I know that obviously gets very tiring for them because it's just the 7 of them performing the entire time without a break. So it'll be kind of curious seeing how they do a world tour where it's like when they're releasing an album that potentially doesn't have any solo songs built into it. My dream scenario would be that they would pull in some older solo songs like from Mott's or from Love Yourself and would like combine those into the OT7 songs, but I don't think that will happen. I think that's just me clowning. And then I just also popped over into Discord to take a look a little bit, unpack the one that bingo card that Metaloop shared. And I see we have like some overlap with like death and rebirth and like the idea of cycles, the sun, things that we've talked about, of course, because, we talked a lot about those things on Discord and Twitter and things, and we're theorizing about some of those like repeated motifs. One of your themes was like a clock. I had said time, things like I had thought space imagery. You had said space imagery as well. Winter and spring. I was thinking spring. So we are very in sync on a lot of those things based on our previous conversations. Peace and love, I see, is one of your themes as well. And then I also like, some of the other themes that you've included on yours are like very relevant BTS themes, like the sea and the idea of labyrinths and mazes, the idea of masks, the idea of keys. A lot of those are very, relevant to BTS. And very relevant themes to them. I like also your idea of like things like, the tree of life and like the globe and things like that. I love those ideas. It would be really cool if we could see some of those too. No worries at all, Butterfly Young. You can even you could always make one still if you wanted to, because I figure when the album comes out, we'll revisit our bingo cards and see how we did. So it's like you can always make one before the album and before my next live stream, talking about the album again. So no worries. Yes, also, yeah, that's very true, Javine. I could definitely see that. Subunits would actually be a really great way to kind of, you know, like have the pacing work a little bit better for them. Because like I think of, you know, when you look at like Friends, Jamais Vu, and Respect, those were songs that like there was like a little bit of movement and things in them, but it's like they weren't super dance heavy. So that's also a really good opportunity to kind of let everybody kind of catch their breath a little bit and, you know, reset. So I think that would be a really good idea. But yeah, so I'm really curious. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to get bingo, but just because of the way I structured the card. Like, I think even if I get a couple right, there's always going to be like one thing in one row or column that doesn't happen. So I don't think I'm going to get bingo, but I'd be very curious to see, you know, what, if any of these things that I've kind of theorized about or that we've discussed and I've incorporated in this card, how many things will actually turn out to come true. And like, so I'm just kind of, more than anything, I'm curious to see if we get some of these things. And I'm curious, even if you all like don't have like an actual bingo card that you've made up, if like anything on this bingo card kind of like, if you sort of are thinking, oh yeah, that would be on my bingo card too, or like if you have anything that you don't see on mine that you really are like, I think this is gonna happen, I would put that on my bingo card. I'm curious what you all think. Oh, yeah, that's true too, Butterfly Young. I could definitely see that because I know a lot of people have theorized about that one. I think it's number 29. And I don't know if it's going to be an instrumental interlude or if it's going to be a skit, but it'll be, I would love if it was a skit. That would be so cool. Oh, yeah, Bomac, I could see that happening. Oh, hello. Hello, T Style. I'm glad to see you. No worries. Um, for me, so when I was putting like, you know, this theme or that theme, I was thinking just kind of throughout the album in general. Like I could see maybe a song having that theme. Like I don't think necessarily the album as a whole would have all of these themes. I think more like, and I don't know, because I was kind of, you know, I'm a concept album girly. You know, I love Wings, I love Map of the Soul. So I was sort of expecting Arirang to be a little bit more of a concept album, to be honest. And I don't think it's going to be quite so much that. It could be, I might be surprised. But I was sort of thinking about how, like, you might have an overall concept for the album, but then the songs convey very different ideas about that concept. So I guess that's kind of how I was picturing Arang when I first made this bingo card back in like January. So when I sort of am going into like the different themes and stuff, I'm thinking more of like, oh, maybe there'll be a song that leans really heavily into the idea of time, and maybe there'll be one that leans really heavily into the idea of spring, or that mentions these themes, you know, like, you know, thinking of We Are Bulletproof, the Eternal mentions spring and things like that, and like that type of thing. So that was kind of my thought process in how I assign different themes. Hitchhiker Hobbit, yeah, me too. I really kind of want that one to happen. I think the ones that I'm really clinging to the most on my bingo card are the idea of no all English songs, no collabs, and some socially relevant songs. And that's not to say that like English songs would be bad, but I just don't want any. That sounds so horrible. Okay, that's interesting that it was confirmed as like an interlude. I know I also saw something about a hidden track. Like, I don't know where that information came from, but that there would be an album only hidden track. So I don't know. That's true too. Yeah, that it could be more like the album is going to be socially relevant as a whole rather than any specific song. I'd be fine with that too. My personal clown theory for a continuation of an older song was going to be Spring Day Part 2, but I just don't think that we can touch the Eternal Queen. The Eternal Queen just stands on its own. It doesn't need a continuation. That's true too. Like we were talking about wondering if there would be like an Arirang sort of included. It would be interesting to have that be a hidden track. That would be a lot of fun, and it would make sense because then it would just be on the physical albums. It wouldn't be like something that would be, in streaming contention or, like anything like that. It would be more intimate, the way that like a song like C was a hidden track. Will I be disappointed if Swim is an all English song? It depends. So, like, for instance, I am a huge fan of Jin's song Running Wild. I really like that song, even though it's all in English. But for me, part of the reason why I like Running Wild is because I like the way he interpreted it when he did his music video. So I feel like the way that Jin chose to interpret that song, or Lupin's when, he made the video, or a combination of both of them, or whomever, I really like that they kind of subtly changed the meaning of Running Wild with the way they chose to portray the music video. So that's part of why I love that song, despite the fact that it's English. So I think all English songs can be good. I enjoyed Dynamite when it came out, so things like that. But I would kind of hope that the title track off of an album as Korean as Arirang would not be all English. So I don't know. I would have to wait and see. Yeah, Hitchhiker Hobbit, I think that's a really good way of like describing it. It would be, you would have to physically go look for it and like accept it and have the physical copy of it, and it would kind of be, it, like I said, it wouldn't just be like, oh, let's stream it. It wouldn't just be like a random thing that was being streamed on like Spotify or something. It would be a little bit more special. It would also be interesting, like an interesting way if it was the last hidden, if hidden on the album, it's like the last track. That would be really an interesting way to end the album. Good question. Let's pop back up to... Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot that I can't see that. Hang on, let me open it again. Because, yeah, my eyes are like, no, no, fam, not today. Let me pull up the actual picture I have. So, I know that was the one that we said it was those two producers that we didn't see them elsewhere on the album, other than, like, Tyler Spry was on, like, one other song, and then I don't know who any of these people are other than Ryan Tedder, like I said before. So, James Eisen, Essien. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing that. I apologize if I am. Then Sean Foreman, Tyler Spry, Jameson Backen, Ryan Tedder, then June, then Kristen Alyssa Spencer, then Derek Milano, and then P-Dog. Now, I do know that James Eisen, Kristen Alyssa Spencer, and Derek Milano are credited on several other songs. So they are pretty involved in this album. That's true too. Yeah, we really haven't had a lot of information on what to get and when and how. So it's like, and there's so many different versions of this album. I'm like kind of shooketh. Yeah, I'm thinking that if like P Dog being on there does kind of soothe me, I think that's a good sign. And like obviously, Namjoon has writing credits on all English songs like Butter, so it's like it's possible that he would still have writing credits on a song that's in all English, but I would hope that maybe his inclusion is proof that it won't be. I'm not sure. Yeah, yeah, me too, Butterfly Young. We were talking about that a bit with please go down, go down. Sorry, that slide did not want to transition, but we were talking about the animated little trailer that they released where they kind of were showing the and like the young men who first sang it. So it's like I would love to see more history, both like with the young men who first sang it here in the United States and with how Arirang was created so long ago and like other famous versions. Like I just really hope that there's a lot of, kind of inclusion with that. Yeah, that's the impression that I got, that all of the songs are going to be released on the 20th of March, like the album in full is going to drop. That's my assumption, cuz like if you go on Spotify and you look, it like Spotify's description for the album says, coming on March 20th, so I'm assuming everything's going to drop at that time. Yeah, me too, Hitchhiker Hobbit. I'm always kind of very curious about that too, of just like, do I like this person's style? Do I like that the influence that they had on certain songs? And it's kind of fun when you do start to recognize certain names. Like, Yoongi has a very good working relationship and friendship with the singer-songwriter Max. And then Max was credited on Jin's song I'll Be There. So, like, it was really fun when that track list came out to be like, oh my gosh, that's Yoongi's friend Max. I like those types of things, or like recognizing certain people who tend to work a lot with a certain member. That's really fun too. And so I'm curious in general too, if you all have any other like thoughts and theories and feelings that you are thinking about right now in regards to this album, since like I said, this is kind of, other than, I'm sure we'll talk on, for those of you who are part of my Discord server, I'm sure we will talk on Discord, but this is kind of like our last chance to talk as a group about what we're sort of expecting, what we're hoping for. This is it before the album comes out for us to have that group discussion. So I'm really, really curious to hear any other theories and thoughts that you may have had that you haven't had a chance to express yet, or any other like things you want to hear from me. I'm so curious where you all are at mentally with this album. Yeah, Javid, I think so too. I think identity is a very good theme, not just for this concept, but just for like where BTS are right now. Because I mean, it's been a very long time, and I mean, I know for some people that time went really quickly, but I was just kind of thinking about it while I was prepping for this live stream. I'm like, it has felt like a really long time since we've really just had BTS and all of their BTS-ness, and so I think identity is a really good thing to be talking about right now to kind of come back in that sense. And I think it also does kind of raise the question of like, I want to see what BTS, like, because we all know how we feel about BTS and what we think about BTS, but it's like I want to know what they have to say about what BTS is after all this time, and I'm hoping for good things from that. Yeah, I agree, T Style. It kind of doesn't feel real. I'm kind of still in disbelief, really. Especially like since it's gonna go right into like that live concert on Netflix, and then it's gonna go right into the world tour, and I'm just like that doesn't even compute in my brain. That doesn't even make sense to me. I don't even understand. That's a good point too, Butterfly Young. I just, yeah, I like seeing that they're include, like they pretty much have writing credits on everything. Because that's a big thing for me is like, I don't like the feeling of feeling like they've been forced to do an English song, or like they're doing an English song that has, none of their identity in it, or doesn't have any of their fingerprints in it, and it's just like, I want to know that it's them. I know, right? That one is one of the Netflix promotional ones, and I made it a little bit different in Canva. I colored it up and did some like vignette type stuff on it, but it's so cool, right? I'm just like, I knew I had to use it because I'm so obsessed with it. It's so neat. It's gonna be so surreal seeing them in that Netflix concert, just like seeing them getting ready to perform is honestly gonna blow my mind. I just don't even know how to handle it. Also, for anybody who maybe came in a little bit later, I've alluded to another live stream a few times, but for those of you who came in later, my next one that I'm thinking of doing is going to tentatively most likely be scheduled for Sunday, March 29th. And that way I figure that'll give us all a little extra time to kind of absorb everything with the album and anything that might come after that. And then that will be our day to sort of talk about the album as a group. If anything changes, of course, I'll let you know. Yeah, I'm hoping so too, Metaloop. Like, I'm really hoping that this is their story, and like this is what they want to discuss, and it's not, trying to do anything else other than just be these are their thoughts. Because, like, I imagine they probably have a lot of things that they do want to discuss and, portray in song form over this. It's been such a long stretch and they've gone through so much, and it's just like I would really love if this was kind of their way of just getting their thoughts and feelings to us. Yeah, T style. I felt like doing it next Sunday would be way too much, because like the album will have literally just come out, and like the Netflix live will have also just come out, and so I thought it would be better to give us a little extra time. We can consume all of the content, and then we can have the, a group conversation about it. That can be when we see, hey, did we get anything right bingo card wise? Did we get anything right theory wise? And we can sort of discuss all of that together here in another live. So that was my thought process. That one that I do on March 29th, that might be my last live for a little bit, just because then, like, I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud, but then like the concert in Tampa will be like a month away, and I am not prepared at all. So I'll probably need to turn my attention to like getting concert ready, and then I will of course do like a live stream post concert to talk about my experiences the way I did when I did my post Run Gin live, and talk to you all about my concert experience for Run Gin. So I'll probably do one of those in late April, but I'll need a little bit of time to get my head screwed on straight because I don't even know what I'm even doing. Butterfly Young, yes, you know that's right. And of course, I will get you all of those details. I figure when I do the post concert live stream, that might not be a Sunday. That might be like a Monday or a weird day because I'll probably be coming home from Tampa like on Sunday. So I won't be home yet. So that might be a weird day for a stream, but that way I can get the thoughts out while they're, still fresh and everything. And I'll keep you guys up to date with that. But definitely gonna do a post Arirang stream and then a post concert stream, and then we'll go from there. I might not do streaming like as frequently as I have been, just because I would also like to eventually get into book club, and that will take like a little bit of planning. But we'll see. We'll see how things shake out because we still have no idea. So much of Arirang is still kind of like an unknown, and we're not sure what we're getting and when. So I'm not quite sure what other content we'll be receiving. So I might have to add some live streams here and there. Yeah, Metaloop, you're very right, and that'll be interesting too. If we do, because I mean, I'm like I said at the beginning of the stream, I'm excited, but I'm also nervous, and I'll be really interested to see. Like, we have a great community here. I don't think we would be in danger of like, getting into like any type of arguments or anything if we were talking about it. And honestly, I would be very curious, like if there's a song I don't like, I'd be curious to hear from people who do like it and vice versa. So I think that would be an interesting conversation to have if we do have some differing opinions about about what's in the album. So it would be kind of nice to see where that goes, because yeah, I don't know, I really don't know what to expect this time around. Yes, T Style. I am very excited, and I am going the first night of the Tampa tour. So I'm really excited to, because I can't believe that their first stop in North America is in Florida. Like that. I mean, that is crazy. I wasn't even sure that they would come to Florida, let alone, oh yes, we're coming to Florida, and it's the first stop on the North American tour. Like I can't even wrap my mind around it. I don't even know. So yeah, I think I'm gonna start wrapping it up within like probably like the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have any final thoughts, please let me know. Any final thoughts before we get to Arirang and we get to like the big comeback? Very curious. This has been an amazing discussion as always. I love hearing all of your thoughts and your theories and your speculations. But let me know if there's anything else that you have on your mind right now that you maybe haven't had a chance to say or discuss, or anything that's kind of come to you while we've been discussing today, because I would love to hear it. Yeah, I'm just very excited to see them on stage again. It's felt like way, way, way too long. So I'm just really excited to see what that is like. And it's also, this is something that I noticed a lot watching Jin pre-military versus Jin post-military. Watching him post-military, it really seemed to me as like an outside observer, because obviously I don't know. But like as an outside observer, it just seemed like he was so free, like when he came back and was able to do like Happy and all of the songs on Happy and all those performances and things. He just seemed like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders, and I wonder if the rest of them feel that way, or if they just kind of feel pressure because now they're into another comeback. I'm not sure kind of what the group dynamic and the group vibe is like. Do they feel that like release of pressure? Do they feel like a new pressure? So I'm kind of curious to see what their energy is like. Yeah, I hope so, Metaloop. I know that there will always be like disagreements. I don't think it's going to be possible to please everybody. I think the fandom has changed a lot, and I think we have a lot of different people have different expectations. So I know that people are bound to be disappointed, and I just hope that the large majority of us are satisfied, and that like especially those of us who like want to theorize and stuff, that maybe we have something to sink our teeth into. Javine, good question. You guys probably are not surprised to know I'll be, of course, watching with my mom, the other army in my life. What about all of you? I'm curious where you all will be, if you'll just be kind of like watching it alone or with friends or family. I know some of you are like Hitchhiker Hobbit. I know you're gonna be fighting for the TV. I think you need the TV for this instance for sure. Yeah, I luckily I'm really relieved that this is going to be on Netflix, because if any of you were there during the Yet to Come concert at Busan, and how it basically just like obliterated Weavers was not equipped to handle it, and just, you guys know I have long-standing beef with Weavers not playing my stuff correctly, so thank God it's not on Weavers. I saw that. I saw Jimin's post about how they're nervous. I thought that was sweet, though. I mean, it's like the anticipation is rising, and I like seeing it. And of course, for anybody who's on my Discord server, you can always kind of have a fun community to hang out with there, because that's always a really fun thought too, knowing that like a whole bunch of us around the world are watching it together is a lot of fun. I know we kind of did that with some of Jin's concerts. Hitchhiker Hobbit was like my concert watching buddy for that online. My mom was my in-person one, and then Hitchhiker Hobbit was my online one. T-Style, I think so. I feel like I saw that too, that it'll be live, but then it'll also still be on there. That's what I heard as well. Oh, Javine, that's awesome. I'm glad that you'll be watching with Army friends. That's great. And yeah, I can imagine that Netflix kind of knows, because like I always find that really baffling, that people will have BTS do a thing and then they'll be surprised by how popular BTS is, and it's like, you brought BTS into this project ostensibly because you know how popular they are, but then you're surprised that they're popular and you weren't expecting it. Why? So I'm glad that Netflix seems to understand what they have coming their way. Right, it was so much fun. It's so much fun having an online concert watching buddy. So and this is, if I know I kind of always am plugging the Discord server, if and I know for a lot of people they're just not into that. It's not a platform that they use. They don't really use social media outside of YouTube. But for any of you who might be interested in our Discord, please let me know, and you can join that as well. It's a lot of the familiar faces here in the live chat are also on there. So it's a lot of people you'll recognize, and we just have fun like theorizing and stuff on there. So it's a great community. Oh, that'll be nice, Butterfly Young. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's like 7 a.m. for me. I forget. I'm gonna have to double check, but 7 a.m. sticks in my head for some reason. So I'll watch it and then probably go take a nap. I love to hear that, Hitchhiker Hobbit, because I know you very much wanted a Discord server, really hoping for one. So I'm glad to hear that it's kind of like lived up to your hopes and your expectations. It's a really great place to have. I love the discussions that we have there. I love, having we can just instantly share like information and news and excitement and theories, and it's a lot of fun. And it's a very cozy space. It's exactly what I could have hoped for. So I'm really glad about that. So that about does it for me today, I think, unless anybody else had any other thoughts that they wanted to share real quick before we start wrapping up for the day. But just to jump back up to my housekeeping, in addition to that next live stream being Sunday, March 29th, my hope is to get my next video out within the next couple of days. That is going to be a video about BTS and the color purple, both as like, hey, how did this start? Where did this come from? And also like what it truly means, like at its core. I'm hoping to get that up Tuesday because I really, really, really want to get that up before Arirang comes out. So that's my goal. Either Tuesday or Wednesday at the absolute latest. But so keep your eyes peeled for that. That's going to be a bit of a shorter video, but I kind of hope it can spark some like fun discussions. And then that next live stream. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for some stuff from me. And if you're on Discord, I will see you there for plenty of theorizing and chaos and craziness. And if you're YouTube only, I will, of course, be like, I'll keep you up to date with community posts and things on the community section of my channel. And hopefully I will see you in the next video. But yeah, that's it for me today. I hope you all had as much fun as I did. This was awesome. Thank you for theorizing with me and bringing out your final thoughts before Arirang. And I look forward to seeing you all on the other side of it again and talking about what we thought of the album and if we kind of like if our theories prove correct or not. So I hope to see you again very soon. Yeah, I'm so glad you. I love the way you put that and phrase that to style. It's so true. It's so much fun reading everybody's posts. I know sometimes I'm not super active on it either, which is crazy because it's my own server. But sometimes I'm just like, I kind of lurk a little bit, and I just love seeing everybody's thoughts and feelings. Yeah, anybody who's ever interested in the Discord server, please let me know. I'll get you the link. I don't have the link posted like anywhere too publicly. Like I don't put it on like Twitter or like in the community section of the channel or anything because I want it to be like a nice curated community. But if anybody who's like watching these lives ever wants it, let me know. And it's I know I have it in the live chat of some other live streams too and everything. So oh, I will definitely give her your greetings. Thank you, Javine. And I thank you so much, all of you, for being here. I'm so glad that you all could be here today to chat with me. It was a great discussion. Thank you all for being so active as always. You all have the best thoughts. And I love hearing from you. So can't wait to see you again really soon. And happy comeback time. And I'll see you on the other side. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great week ahead. And I'll hope to see you in the Power of Purple video on Tuesday. Or Wednesday. We'll see. Hopefully Tuesday. But you know me. So, but I'll keep you guys updated. So, bye everybody. Have a great rest of your day and a great week. I'll see you again very soon.